Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina. Maltina. Share happiness.
As mama, I always want waiting best for me picking them, especially when it comes up waiting them for eat and drink. Now this make I always they choose Sarah juice because they make come from with local foods them and nutritious and it gets less sugar than the other drinks them. Not to me say so.
We lab test show say Sarah juice gets 50% less sugar than the other drinks them na the market.
Because we mama they know waiting best for we picking them, now I make we always they choose Sarah juice. Sarah juice and nutritious, it healthy and it's sweet. Sarah juice, not the taste of Salome.
Welcome back, and a quick reminder that this is Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV television and radio in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Now, the Chief Administrator of Bo District Council, Vivian Senesi, has alleged that some of the big players, including Sierra Tropical and the management of Southern Arena in Bo District, have refused to comply with tax requirements, an allegation to which the committee says it will inquire. She was responding to questions from the Public Accounts Committee on audit queries from the 2024 audit report, which shows a 35% shortfall in own source revenue generation. Samuel Tunisoya files the story, while Ali Bongo captures the footage.
The 2024 audit report reveals numerous financial inconsistencies and non-tax compliance, which reflects in huge shortfalls in revenue generation. Within local councils, the contrast between revenue projection and that of revenue generation glaringly occur across various councils. The questions remain, what are the deterrents? Bo District Council steps up for vetting.
We have other people, stakeholders in this town, that do not want to pay tax. One of such is the stadium there. They should be paying us big money, they are not paying. They will not even allow, the management to not even allow us to go and do assessment. That's the challenge we are getting. The bigger taxpayers are not paying us. You see? And we are getting this boundary delimitation also is a challenge. Sometimes we cripple at the start of the year to really print our demand notices, whilst the city council, who have daily revenue to collect, go in and collect before us. So we are challenged sometimes. But the major players do not really pay our tax.
Responding to questions for low revenue generation despite the potentials of the District Council, Chief Administrator Vivian Senesi says some major revenue streams are stifled.
Somebody just came and paid for that land. And how they
job the roundabout?
This one by Leone.
Okay, the one that.
Yes, that's our area of collection. Okay. They have asked them out. The people came here crying that council should do something, or else they are not going to pay tax.
For Pujan, the concerns are payment of uncompleted health center and wash facilities, along with budget targets not met.
The pace at which she was going, it was not satisfactory, and that's the reason why it was terminated and then reassigned to another contractor for the speedy completion. Remember, it's a health facility. It is desperately needed. We've done that and we've added over.
Have you given completion certificate to the contractor that completed
the new contractor, yes, sir.
So can you make the evidence available to us?
We'll make it available the same day, Friday, yes, sir.
The committee says it will look into these allegations and devise ways to address them. The legislative scrutiny reveals the need for timely budget allocation and robust strategies for generation of own source revenue in public financial management. Samuel Tony Sawyer, AYV News.
All right, many thanks to Sir Samuel Tony Sawyer there. Well, we now return to our studios. In our main studios, in our first conversation this morning. On Monday, the Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, in a press release announced that it is legally constrained from enforcing its leadership transition plan for the All People's Congress Party, because an APC party member filed a lawsuit against the Commission's secondary transition directives that the current APC National Executive remain in office and the status quo is maintained until the court delivers a ruling.
In February 13, 2026, PPRC invoked Section 39(5) of the Political Parties Act 2022 to grant the expiring APC executive a 6-month tenure extension. The second directive, the Commission stipulated that if the executive failed to hold a national delegates conference before the end of the 6 months, the APC parliamentary leader, alongside 5 regional MPs, would take over party management.
Well, as the 6-month extension reached its peak on the 18th of August, an APC member challenged the parliamentary takeover plan in court with barely 2 years ahead of the general elections. We ask the questions, what is the fate of the APC in all of this? So this morning, to discuss this issue and more, we have in our studios Abdul Karim Kamara Esquire, member of the APC media team. Good morning, AKK, and welcome to AYV.
Yes, good morning, my brother. It's a pleasure being here as always.
AKK, let's start off. The PPRC says that the APC executive's tenure has expired and that the commission is legally constrained, you know, because of the court action currently on. Does the APC accept, you know, this current executive that it has effectively overstayed its mandate? Is that first the position that the executive has overstayed, and the PPRC's position currently to hold on their own decision of allowing parliamentary caucus to take over the party? Is this a welcome idea for the APC?
I'll attempt to answer this question in 2 different ways. Firstly, is that the executive, yes, the tenure has elapsed, and pursuant to Section 39, sub 5 of the Political Parties Regulation Commission Act, 6 months was given to the current executive, and further to that ruling of February, as Madam Judge rightly cited, PPRC directed that in an event in the 6 months, again, the executive cannot take the party to its NDC, the parliamentary leadership led by Honorable Abdul Kagbo and other 5 regional MPs to continue providing leadership for the party. It was not at any point in time for the APC that we challenged that contention or we challenged that decision or directive from PPRC. But one thing that is very clear is that as time unfolds, a very senior member of the party went to court to ask the court a few questions. And one thing I want to make very, very clear to all of us out there is firstly to understand that going to court to ask questions does not put you into collision with members of the political party, because you go to court for clarity. That's one thing. And the second thing I want to make very clear is that for the current executive to have outlived their tenure was not done deliberately or as a result of a reason we will fault them, but rather it was because of certain conditionalities that occurred that was completely beyond our reach. If you have the opportunity, you can accord me, I will lead them bare. Firstly, when we promulgated our rules for the all-important activity of electioneering in the party, we took almost 11 months for those rules to be verified and to be gazetted by PPRC, and that militated against our time. Fast forward, we started our electioneering process. Just after our first elections, the ward elections, petitions upon petitions, petitions upon petitions. And as I'm talking to you here, on to this point, PPRC and IEMC are still adjudicating petitions that borders on our ward elections. And as I'm talking to you again, petitions are already with IEMC that are bordering on the just completed constituency elections. So with all these things put together, you cannot fault the executive.
Are these petitions not as a result of the non-compliance of the current executive?
No. For every elections you go into, there are almost 10 chances to 1 that you will not have an election where 1 or 2 people will not come and say A, B, and Z didn't go on well. So because of that, again, it behoves you to hear them and give rulings to those petitions. And in doing so, you are equally going to be entrapped by time. Fast forward. I am just trying to say, now that somebody took the party to court, and this is exactly where I want to land this argument. He went to court to ask that I am asking the court that pursuant to the directives of PPRC dated in February this year, is it clear or permissible upon the true construction of the APC's party constitution of March 7, 2022, wherein there are structures of the party, that their tenure in office only elapses at an NDC, i.e., the National Advisory Committee, the Elders Council, and other apparatus of the APC party organogram. If it is on the true construction of the APC constitution, permissible for PPRC to at least terminate those statutory organograms or organs of the party pursuant to that ruling they gave in February. So these are the questions that are before the courts. And for us lawyers, we know when a matter is now before the courts, we call it sub judice. It now ceases to be for public discussion. And PPRC, that is now where I am coming out to Nexus, their recent press release, been equally a commission corporate established by a statutory order or established by statute, equally have reverence for the judiciary. And so they are saying it is pursuant to our ruling, that is why they are a party to the action before courts. It is pursuant to this ruling we gave that is now before the court for litigation. So we are saying, hey, wait a second. Let us surrender to the court and wait a while and see what the court is going to rule. I think every APCN must see this not as a way of pulling each other down, not as a way of pushing and pulling, not as a way of beginning to see as if we start to cast aspersions to one another, but rather it's a way for all of us to come together concertedly to making sure that we see how best we can get our NDC ASAP so that we have a legitimate, or we have those people who are still in office that by constitution, now provision, are subject to reappointment or re-elections, go again to the polls. If they are fortunate, they are re-elected. If they are not, new people take over the seats. So all I am saying is that as a party now, we welcome the decision of PPRC that they have not said yes, nor have they said no, but they have surrendered their own ruling and all of us as party members to the court, pursuant to the action that is now before the court. And see what exactly the court will rule.
Now, without looking at what, within the walls of the courts, let's look at the practical issue here. PPRC coming up with the ruling that members of parliament should take over the party's mantle, to lead the party into elections and AGM. Would that have been practical, looking at the fact that the executive, as you stated, through no fault of theirs, had bottlenecks, in organizing the lower level elections, ward and constituency.
Gazetting our rules.
Yes, and if the executive, which was an elected body, struggled would members of parliament be able to lead if we hadn't have this court order? Would they be able to take the party to the AGM?
Well, for me, I will say this. I'll say it for the fear of God. I think we will not have countenance whether they will not or they would had the tax not been given to them. And so, for all intent and purposes, had there not been this matter that is now before the courts, as I said earlier on, before I took off this argument or discussion, I said when the PPRC gave that directive, nobody challenged it. So basically we were saying, we are coerced, that if PPRC has placed that responsibility on Parliament, we are of the view that yes, they can perform it. Mr. Bokari, I hope I'm making sense.
Yes.
So, but now, something has just crept in. Somebody has now gone to court to ask the court few questions. That if upon the true construction of the APC March 7, 2022 Constitution, knowing too well, and I'll give you citations in the Constitution if you do permit me to do so, that there are certain organs of the party that their tenure in office only comes to an end at an NDC. And if you don't have this NDC, don't you think that ending their tenure in office now is a contravention to the very APC Constitution? So these are the questions that are now before the court. And we are now waiting the court to determine. Because let me share with you something that is very, very clear and instructive. When you look at the APC Constitution, it will tell you at Article 17, which reference to the public. Article 17, paragraph D, it talks about the NDC to be the only body that has the right to dissolve and elect national officers. Try to understand this. We must understand first that national officers have a tenure in office of 3 years. Clear. But again, the party constitution went further. That inasmuch as they have this tenure of office of 3 years, that tenure of office of 3 years, that is why from the constitution it says, automatically upon the inflection of 3 years, there should be an NDC. So it is at that NDC that your 3 years tenure ends and then somebody is re-elected instantaneously, so that there cannot be...
never left vacant.
Fine, there should be no vacuum. But in this circumstance we're now facing, their tenure has elapsed, additional 6 months has been given, so therefore it's still telling you that there's a continuous requirement. I hope I'm making sense here. There's a continuous requirement that these office holders are still here and that the only competent body to dissolve this office is the NDC. I'm making sense. So therefore...
So should the executive be left to go to the NDC, even though their time has elapsed and they've been given 6 months again and it has elapsed? Should that be the case? Because, as you've already said, the Constitution makes provision that there shouldn't be a vacuum.
A vacuum at all.
And now there's a vacuum. But even though there's a vacuum, and the question the individual went to the court with is to interpret this section,
correct,
whether indeed PPRC, even after the 6 months, has the mandate to usher in another body, a caucus, a parliamentary caucus.
For which this particular organ of the party, which is the second highest organ of the party, which upon the true construction of Article 17, paragraph D, their tenure comes to an end at an NDC. And if there is no NDC, how can you end their tenure? That's the question he's asking. So PPRC, in their wisdom, says, okay, let's allow the court to adjudicate on this. So they have not said yes, nor have they said no to their ruling or directives pursuant to February. So they are now saying, let's now the court decide to these questions, which is already a matter before the court, let the court adjudicate. And whatever is the outcome of the court, it's the decision.
What has been the views of the grassroots members of the party? I am concerned because now, to some who do not understand the intricacies of, the APC constitution or, the several views people may hold, it may look or it seems as if someone is trying to hold on to the party not to go to a national delegate conference. Because if you are taking PPIC now or the party to court based on the decision PPRC has taken, it seems as if you want to let the party continue like how it is. Isn't that what the grassroots member will think, that this matter now in court is to delay the APC not to go into a national delegates conference?
Okay. With specific reference, and I want to answer that question to the APC 2022 Constitution, with specific reference to Article 20, subparagraph E, and Article 21, subparagraph I. But let me take off from subparagraph I of Article 21. It talks about the tenure of NAC members to elapse at an NDC. Now, who are NAC members? NAC members begins from A, elected non-executive NAC members. B, the party chairman is a NAC member. The party deputy chairman, the secretary general, and all national officers are NAC members. Regional chairmen are NAC members. The leader of parliament of the minority is a NAC member. And all these people, the Constitution says, their tenure in office only elapses at an NDC. You see again how complex is that. So, simply put, for the grassroots, as you're rightly asking, we know the grassroots are very, very much conversant with the Bible or the Quran of their party, which is the APC's constitution. And so nothing is done that contravenes this Bible or Quran of our party. And so it behoves us to guard it jealously. So when you ask, how does this ruling or this directive or this recent presser from PPRC resonates with the grassroots, I would say they have no problems with it. Save for the fact that there may be one or two people who may have different views. But I respect that. I am not going to challenge them to their views. But what I want to say is that in as much as if it's not broken, don't fix it. We are all in a hurry to go to State House, legitimately through the ballot box. And thus it behoves all of us as APC people to deny ourselves that pulling down syndrome or casting aspersions to one another, but to come concertedly and say our best we can galvanize ourselves for the ultimate NDC and reduce these issues of petitions upon petitions, that if it's not me, it has to be nobody else.
Okay.
And thus, yes, and thus, that is seriously and adversely affecting us. Because had it not been for these serious petitions upon petitions, I'll tell you, Mr. Bokri, with all due respect, I think the 6 months PPRC gave us, we will have utilized everything within the 6 months.
And that's what I wanted to ask. Are there factions within the APC that are benefiting from these delays we are seeing? I'm asking because, as you rightly said, the executive had an extra 6 months, which has elapsed on the 18th. And if there weren't petitions upon petitions, even from the ward elections to the constituency elections, the executive would have ushered in, the NDC. Exactly. But because of these petitions, it delays the work of the executive to go to NDC. Are there factions that are benefiting from these delays?
Mr. Bokri, like I just said, and I don't want to be caught again contravening myself, I said let us deny ourselves from casting aspersions to one another. So in as much as the question is posed whether there are people who are benefiting from this, I want to deny myself from casting aspersions to people. But rather I am saying, for the interest of this party and for the bigger picture, let us deny ourselves this mentality that if it's not me, it should not be nobody else. And again, in elections, it should not be that I must win at all costs. If you're not the chairman today, just believe that God has a better opportunity and a position for you in this party. And that the bigger picture is, let us now try to organize ourselves to confront our common target, which is the SLPP, to oust them from governance legitimately come 2028. So this should be the common focus of all of us, rather than the pulling down syndrome, the pushing and pulling, the casting aspersions, that this should not be the right person to lead, this should not be the right No, the bigger picture is, let us galvanize ourselves. Let us come together as one party with one common vision that the common enemy here is the SLPP. They have wrecked their economy. They have failed in their social contract with the people. So the better option is the APC. So the only way we can do that is when we are together.
So the question, I'm sure many people don't have answers to at the moment is, what is the APC saying? Are they saying that the PPRC in this circumstance does not have the authority to determine how the APC must be managed after, what should I say, the dissolution of this executive? Because
that's not the position of the APC.
So 39.5 of the PPRC Act of 2022, of course, gives the PPRC the authority to extend for 6 months, but not beyond 6 months. And I'm sure they're doing whatever they're doing within their rights at the moment. So what is the issue? Is it that the party is not okay, or the executive is not okay with the fact that PPRC is now saying, okay, the parliamentary caucus should take over? Or just the fact that PPRC is attempting to manage what's going on in the party, seemingly because it appears the APC itself are not able to do what they should do?
I would deny to answer the second limb of your argument, whether PPRC is attempting to manage it. I cannot talk for PPRC. I don't know what they are doing.
Is that what your party thinks?
I think PPRC has a statutory responsibility of regulating political parties, and that's what exactly they are doing, pursuant to Section 12 of the PPRC Act 2022. Okay. That's their focus. Section 12, subsection 1 of the Political Parties Regulation Commission Act 2022 vests that solely into their capable hands to regulate, register, and do A, B, and Z for political parties. That's their constitutional or legal responsibility. The second limb I want to address is a no to your answer, that the APC hasn't seen that the parliamentary caucus cannot manage that. No. The APC is not casting aspersions that somebody wants to come and provide leadership in our party. No. I said a very senior member of the APC, based on the ruling or directive of PPRC dated in February this year, went to the court to ask few questions, bordering on exactly the ruling or directive of PPRC, to which he made PPRC a party.
Okay, talking about that, AKK.
And so, PPRC, in their wisdom, pursuant to Section 12(1), which requires them to regulate political parties, says, oh, this particular directive of us has attempted to regulate political parties. And thus, there is now this matter before a competent adjudicating body. So now, let us hold it here. Let the current executive, because don't forget, in governance generally, there should not be no vacuum or lacuna. So attempting to hold the party at bay on the 18th, whilst a matter is in court to clarify or ask questions as to whether the parliamentary caucus should come in, was going to put both ends at standstill and there's a vacuum. So PPRC says no. Our responsibility is to regulate political parties and to make sure that political parties have a full and smooth operation. Thus, we are saying that directive of us, we are now going to say, hey, wait a second, and let us surrender everything to the courts and wait for the courts to adjudicate. Thus far, let the current executive continue doing their business as usual. That's simply put.
It is as if the APC's recent constitution, the one of 2022, didn't quite capture all of what is happening now. Between the PPRC Act of 2022 and the APC new constitution of 2022, which one is superior?
That I will not even hesitate to answer that it's the PPRC Act.
Okay, but because earlier on when you were responding to Matthias' questions, you were making reference to the APC's constitution. Okay, so now let's talk about what's happening. We're all waiting. The PPRC is waiting. The All People's Congress is waiting for the courts to decide. Do you have an idea how long this wait will last?
Attempting to do that, I'm beginning to come.
Can you forecast?
I cannot do
Can you
that.
approximate?
Don't please don't take
As it stands
Okay.
now,
Don't please
who
take
is
it.
leading the APC as it stands now?
Yes, the chairman, Ambassador Usman Fode and Sane.
Okay.
So the
And
question.
all officers of the party are actively in charge.
So the question is peradventure.
So nothing is standstill.
Okay.
The
There's no
party is still
vacuum.
moving. There's no vacuum. Everything
Okay,
is
so
moving.
peradventure, AKK, the court decides in favor of the PPRC's ruling, I mean, to hand over the party's affairs to the parliamentary caucus. Does the APC have a credible transition plan, or will the party be caught unprepared again? Because it seems that's the case for the APC. In
Lima, when we are there, we'll jump that bridge. Let us don't preempt.
So does that mean no, there's no credible transition plan?
When we are there, we'll cross the bridge.
AKK, at the moment, many people, some Sierra Leoneans, of course, some of your critics as well, even people from the opposition party, think that the APC is in some kind of a quagmire. They don't seem to know what's going on. One minute they're this, the other minute they're complaining about petitions, the other minute they're complaining about what the SLPP is doing and what's happening in Parliament. APC, I mean, I don't know the word to use, but are they well put together? Are they really ready for this?
Is everything okay at home? Is everything okay at home?
We need to know what's going on. What's going on with the All People's Congress?
Halima, let me tell you what you've just said. Had the APC not got a steady head, had the APC not been a party that is formidable in itself, with all what you've highlighted, that party will have been in shatters.
Do you think the party is not in shatters?
I am telling you, Halima, imagine the APC as it is. We have to battle with the unlawful removal of the Auditor General. We have to challenge the...
Which some of your parliamentary representatives vote in favor of.
Let me give you instances.
So, you know, that goes to show how...
Halima, allow me. You've made your point.
Yes.
And we have to battle with the appointment of Kone. We have to battle with the most disputed 2023 elections. We have to come and battle with the constitutional amendment. We have to... If you don't have a steady head at the APC, can't you think that's very...
Is the APC
I am now
ready?
going to answer you by saying
Okay.
the APC is not really in shambles.
Okay.
The APC is not in disarray.
Okay.
The APC has a steady and competent leadership. And the APC is right on top of situation. So to allay your fear is to make sure you understand that amidst all these challenges, had we not have exactly competent leadership at the helm of affairs, to be honest, I will tell you there will be no competent opposition at this point. But to further tell you that those people that are providing leadership now are really up to the task, that is why you will see exactly what is happening. So I will say this, sincerely and putting God first, that the APC is not in shambles at all. We are not in disarray. We are a very, very, very united political party, devoid of the fact that naysayers may be saying A, B, and Z. But one thing I want you to understand, that even Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had enemies. Even Jesus Christ, who was just one of the best creations of God, had enemies. So, Halima, you cannot expect the APC, a party that has over 1 million plus followers, that all of those followers, at any material time, will sing from the same hymn now. We must have dissenting views. We must have people who are on the other side. But one thing that is very clear is that we don't discountenance their views. We don't just trash their views. We call them to the negotiating table. We sit them down and let us talk to understand and look at the bigger picture. And that is more so the reason why, when I was coming here this morning, somebody sent me an opinion or a letter written by Honorable Siraji Rollins Kamara to PPRC and ABNZ, and he asked me, "Hey, have you seen this?" I said, "No, I've not seen it. I'm just reading it when you sent it to me." He said, "What's the position?" I said, "Yes. One thing that is very clear in democracy is the opportunity that is given to everyone and sundry, that you must have an entitlement to your opinion and to your right. It does not mean at any material time that your opinion is right. Your opinion is true, but you are entitled to it. So that is why democracy requires negotiation. It requires the sharing of ideas, thoughts. We agree to disagree without judging. So in other words, without war worrying. So all that is important is, in as much as you have an opinion, I have an opinion, we share it, we see which one best fits, and then we'll move forward. So for me, I am saying, majority of the APC and to our grassroots that we owe to high esteem are comfortable with the status quo. And we are making sure that we put in frantic efforts to making sure that we end up completely in a very, 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 very peaceful, reconciliatory, and all-embracing manner. That at the end of the day, the flag bearer of the All People's Congress Party will be a symbol of unity within the party, who is all-embracing, and we are all ready to march to State House. That's the focus.
When competitors, when people compete, for instance, if you're preparing to do a marathon for Sierra Leone at the Olympics, you will begin to do your research on the other competitors, what they're like, what's their track record, how far have they gone with their, practice or rehearsals, whatever you'll be doing. And when you look at the SLPP, the government in power, they're your biggest competitors. And they are way ahead in terms of their is it convention? They now have all of their executive members, and they're at work. They're all over the place. They're doing this and that. They're preparing for 2028 elections. Realistically, I mean, with roughly just 2 years before the next general elections, when exactly will the APC conduct its NDC? Give us a realistic timeline. And do you think, with all of this going on, and with time not in your favor anymore, you will still be able to compete with the SLPP come 2028?
Let me say this, and let me be on record for this. We are going to complete our all elections before the SLPP and have our flag bearer or standard bearer before the SLPP will have theirs. Put me on record for this. And you say, AKK, you once said it, and it came to pass. The APC will complete all its elections, have its standard bearer before the SLPP. And thus, that is going to put us on a very sound footing to compete with the SLPP and to lay them bare. However, the SLPP has never been a tough opponent to us. We've always said that to them.
But they're in State House.
Don't come and open another Pandora's box. But however, they know we have the numbers. They know the people resonate more with the APC and our mantra philosophy, which is national constructive nationalism. And so, you see that clearly. We are ready as a party. But one thing you zoomed in, and I want to very, 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 very much pay keen attention to, how realistic are we to have these conventions all completed before the end of the year, or to make us better prepared. I will make this clear on appeal to our membership out there, that for us to complete this all-important exercise, the duty rests on us, members of the APC. In as much as the leadership want to complete in time, if for every activity we go into, listen, Alima, we went into the world elections. As I'm talking to you, PPRs is still adjudicating on petitions bordering on world elections. As we completed the constituency elections, IEMC is still hearing petitions.
Don't you think that is as a result of the fact
and now
that
attempting
you have so
again to
many
go on district elections, if petitions
members
upon petitions continue to creep in, it is still going to militate
is that
against
not,
us.
Is that not as a result of the fact that you have so many dissatisfied grassroots members?
So that is why I am now saying, Lima, that I am pleading to us APC. This is now a clarion call, an appeal to the consciences of us APC, that it must not be us at all costs. Let us look at the bigger picture. Time is not a friend here. The only way we can challenge the next elections on a sound footing is the earlier we are able to put our house in order.
Yeah.
So therefore, that is exactly resonates again with Mr. Bokari. He said the same thing. That if we are only able to put our house in order ASAP, that the people out there will not say, they don't go rogue me. If you don't rogue me, I don't agree. If you not be me, yeah, this thing, the way they do, I don't agree. Excuse me, wallahi, it's going to be challenging for the APC. Because we will not take a step further. PPRC, IMC will still start to tell us, hey, we cannot go. Remember, we proposed so many dates for the constituency elections. PPRC still they say, no, we need to do first the ward elections. We go back to the ward elections, we still come back with petitions. And as I'm talking to you, there's still petitions. Nakambi and Apoloko. You understand? So with all these things, it's still, when we take 3 steps forward, we take 4 steps backward. So it's challenging. So for me, the appeal is not to any other person, but to our very APC membership. That it should not be us at all costs. No elections, not all over the world. We 100% underline 100% free and fair. But what we try to do to the best of our ability to make it 99.9% free and fair. And that's what we are doing. So if there is some elements of issues that are not too germane, please, let's just waive them for the interest of the APC. So that the earlier we are able to organize ourselves, the better for our party.
All right. Earlier on, Alimatu asked whether, you know, the party is okay with, you know, if it had gone through with the appointment of the parliamentary caucus. Now, when I look at the section 39.5 itself, you know, of the PPRC Act, it states clearly that a political party shall not extend the tenure of any of its executives for more than 6 months. And that's the end. I don't know whether there's another statutory document that informed the PPRC as to when that 6 months elapsed, which body should take up the mantle of the party. I wish we had the PPRC person here to clarify, you know. I think the court issue now is as a result of the appointment of the parliamentary caucus. My question is this. Now, throughout all what we've been saying, you've consistently referenced the APC constitution to say that the constitution didn't even provide for a vacuum, that the executive still should take the party to the NDC. But now we have a 6 month that has elapsed, and the constitution of the APC and the PPRC are not speaking the same language. And earlier on, you were asked also which of the 2 documents will prevail in this instance. And I think you mentioned the PPRC because they regulate the party. But there are also structures within the party that are not elected structures, but there are party structures, you know, that can handle party affairs. My thought is this: why not ask those other bodies within the party to take the mantle of the party than, say, members of parliament? I know members of parliament are legitimately elected by representatives from across the country, rightly so, but within the party structure, there are also bodies responsible to take the party. Or why not have an instance wherein you form an ad hoc executive to only take the party to NDC? Is the APC, you know, not okay with all of those arrangements, or is the APC okay with the parliamentary caucus arrangement, even if we were not to go to court with the interpretation of the sections?
That's why I'll pick on my argument. I'll pin my argument on the last link. That would have been the case had we not gone to court. But now we are in court. That is why let us wait for the decisions of the court. So to answer all what you have said was what PPRC have just echoed in their presser. That with all these things, smartly, a very senior member of the party has taken these issues to court to ask questions. So because it's now sub judice, and equally, the PPRC as a commission itself is now above the law. That is why it's a party to the action before the court. So whatever ruling that is going to come or emanate from that particular action has to border on both the APC and PPRC. So now we are at a position where both of us are now waiting for the ruling or the outcome of that particular matter that is before the court. But that in itself does not stop the party from running its affairs. That is why PPRC says, because in governance or in administration generally, there should be no vacuum. Whilst we are waiting the outcome of the matter that is before the court, let the business of the party continue to be run by those who are in.
And there's also this timeline of going into the NDC 2 months before the 2028 elections. As it stands
2
now,
years.
2 years, I mean, sorry. As it stands now, from where I'm sitting as a journalist, I don't know when or which month the elections will be held in 2028. Because we have problems with this new, yes, I am frank, we have problems and debate with this new bill. We are waiting the Supreme Court to interpret, and then the APC also has a timeline, you know, and then there's this court case again. I don't know when the court will decide on this interpretation for the APC, and when the court will decide on the interpretation of the B Constitution. With all of this, there's a timeline. What happens to the timeline? It seems as if the APC has so many timelines. Alima has asked earlier on. There is this December timeline for tripartite December timeline,
yes.
And it seems as if the APC executive also has a timeline by November. If we are going to go to elections, November 2020, there's a whole issue of timeline. Please enlighten us. You know, where does the timeline fit in?
These issues, when I was scrolling down my TikTok accounts, I came across a popular journalist, a comedian. He says the issues are many. So that's exactly what you're provoking here. But again, I'm not here really to comment on all these issues because the issues are indeed many. But the issue I'm here for this morning is to tell you that the APC and the wider APC membership settles for the directives of PPRC as recently published, and there is no contention to that anyway. And further to that one also, that the party is willing and ready to making sure that NDC is conducted as soon as possible. And we're here to making a clarion call to all of us that a house divided in itself will not stand. And let us see how best we will enjoy when we wash our dirty linens in quiet, in private, rather than washing them in public. Because what is very germane is that we have one thing in common, and that's the APC. So if we continue to throw aspersions at each other, it is disingenuous to the party, it's not in the best interest of the party, and it's a recipe for further rancor. So I came this morning purposely to making sure that I communicate to the wider party membership that it will not always be the way you want it. But sometimes you have to bend backwards to making sure that the greater good takes precedence. And you know, the utilitarian principle, Jeremy Bentham, he once says that you will not always look at what is just comfortable for the very few. Yes, sometimes we don't have to despise them. But what is of the greatest interest is for the greatest of the people, the masses. So he says, let us look for the greater good. So I am saying, not that these dissenting opinions of these individuals are not important. I am not saying that at all. But I'm saying for the interest of all of us, the greater good, let us shove them and look at the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, whosoever emerges as chairman, deputy chairman, flag bearer, it's the APC that the person carries. All of us will rally around him and make sure that we take over State House legitimately come 2028. But the more we continue to cast aspersions, the more we continue to say it should not be like this, the more time will become an enemy here. And that will entrap us, as the two of you guys are saying. Mr. Time issues.
Is there really, because when you look at, again, when I look at the two documents, you know, I'm not a judge, but when I look at the two documents, the APC Constitution and the PPRC Act, is there really a legal dispute in this issue, or is it fundamentally a struggle from someone or from a faction to get hold of the executive?
Why do you keep rounding around the same question? Why do you keep rounding around the same question? You're to this question. However, for the last and final time.
Lawyer to lawyer. He recognized.
You're still finding ways to bring me to this question. Let me make this very clear abundantly that, honestly speaking, it's not like the way you preempting it. What is very clear is that you and I know as lawyers that the courts are there to serve in you and I. And so nothing, I repeat, nothing precludes a member of a political party, if one wants to understand the constitutions better or proper, he can go to the court for interpretation. Let me underline this word clearly. So it's not a matter of some certain factions of people want to hold a party to ransom, or it's a calculated plot to making sure that some people still continue to be at the end of affairs. No. I am just saying it will be any other person that if upon the true construction of A, B, and Z, please, Mr. Court or Papa Court, explain to me. Because it is the only adjudicating authority that has that power. So you know that. So when the court has now interpreted, simply put, no ambiguity again, no challenge, no date again. Now, so the courts don't say. And we go by it. So for me, I repeat, if somebody goes to the courts for an interpretation of certain extant provisions in the Constitution, that in no way signals manipulative tendencies. But rather, somebody just wants clarity. So that he will sit in his quiet corner and know that, indeed, this thing will be the worry me. I don't go down a court when I then get the power. They don't interpret it for me. And so then say, now so then say, now so then say. And that is settled. So for that, I think, and I'm very, very certain, that because it's just a matter of interpretation, it will not take long for the court to determine.
I was seeing a situation in which there's a possibility that this particular executive will actually take the party to whatever the party needs to do in future. Because we've seen matters before the courts that will take way longer than expected. And like you say, you don't know how long the wait will last. You don't know how long this will take. You don't know how long it will take for the court to actually give a ruling on this particular matter. So is it safe to say that the APC is dribbling the ball? For instance, if you are in the pitch now, you're dribbling the ball with all the uncertainties that one can have, because you're waiting for the court. The PPIC is waiting for the court. You don't know how long it will take. You don't know how long this will last. So.
But Ms. George, you heard me that I maintain a positive atmosphere to it, a positive energy. But I just concluded by saying I am very much mindful that because it's a matter of interpretation, it will not take too long for the court.
That still doesn't mean you're certain that in so time.
Yeah, of course, you know that, Alima. You know I cannot put a definite time to it.
Exactly.
But I am of a positive energy.
So how can you now guarantee your party supporters that this issue, this quagmire, will not actually influence the selection and election of candidates? Of course, it's no secret that the All People's Congress, your party members have always come out to complain that, oh, this particular person is in favor of this particular candidate, so he's doing this and doing that. And many, I see why Bokari continues to ask the same question, whether or not you have players who are using all of this as manipulative tactics to get their way. So how can you guarantee your party stalwarts, your party supporters, the grassroots members, that this is not going to influence whoever will emerge as flag bearer or as party executives in future? Okay.
Firstly, Ms. George, I want to say the APC is not in quagmire at all.
Okay.
And continuing from that point, I want to allay the fears of the masses, more especially members of the APC, that as it has been, so it shall continue. What do I mean by that? We have maintained an open-door policy for all and sundry, all flag-bearer experience. We have given them an equal and level playing field. where we make sure that nobody is given an added advantage over the other. So the doors will continue to be open. The current chairman, Ambassador Usman Fude Yansane, has no soft spot for none of the flag bearers, I can say, and let me be on record. He continues to provide leadership for the party and its members. And so whosoever, I repeat, whosoever that wants to run for a position elective in the party, meeting the party's constitutional requirement, has those rights, uninfringed, unchallenged, unrestricted. You can go to the polls. And one thing I want to make now abundantly clear, and that was where you last, that if it's not going to be a room for manipulative tendencies to giving one person an added advantage over the other. Halima, and let me say this, the APC of today, even if you want to be a janitor, or you want to be a cleaner in the APC, hence you want yourself to be recognized within the party structure, that particular job has to be voted for. It is no longer a matter of selection. No way. In the entirety of the APC's constitution, there's nowhere you can find the word selection anymore. So, anything you want in the APC does not rest on the decision of an individual. It rests solely on the entirety of the membership of the APC. And so it behoves you now to go to your members, canvass them, win their confidence and trust, so that at the end of the day, they will vote you in. So I want to say this, that in no way can one person be given an added advantage over the other, but rather, the current executive of the APC, as we continue, will continue to provide a level playing field for all and sundry, making sure that nobody feels being disadvantaged. Nobody feels that, hey, wait a second, that man is to some extent being given undue advantage over me. We will not entertain it in the APC, we will not tolerate it, and will continue to say no to it in all intents and purposes. So that is more so the reason when you see me this morning here again to address this issue, I have treated it with the utmost respect it deserves. That inasmuch as all of us will not agree at the same time, but that does not in any way make those who think that they are dissatisfied, their opinion and their reasoning being treated with triviality. But rather I am saying, let all of us come together for the interest of the bigger picture, and that's the APC.
AKK, how can APC credibly campaign for democratic governance nationally when its own internal governance in itself is in all this?
He says don't use quagmire.
Well, I'm not going to use quagmire. The party, he just said the party is not in a quagmire. But it's obvious, we can see from a distance, that all is not well. So how can you now come out and say, hey, go to the Southeast and say, come and vote for our party, where we have good democratic tenets, we can do this, we can do that. When your own internal governance system, I don't know which word to use, all is not well.
Halima, let me say this to you. Looking at me, prima facie, you think I'm doing fine.
Are you not?
It's only myself that will tell you whether I am fine or not. And you know, in criminal law, it says the devil himself cannot tell the true construction of a man's mind. Mm-hmm. True. Mm-hmm. So,
that's one thing the devil cannot do, AKK.
So therefore, Halima seated here cannot tell prima facie that the APC is not doing well. Same for me, who is a bona fide member of the APC, who is in the APC, who knows the nitty-gritties of the APC. I am telling you,
well, you wash your dirty linens in public, so we all see.
No, Halima, in democracy, disagreement doesn't mean we are not doing fine. Halima, you know that. For us to disagree to agree does not in any way mean that the party is not doing well. in democracy, we have what we call dissenting views. That does not mean that democracy is not holding. That doesn't mean we are not thriving well. We are just saying in democracy, opinions are not sacrosanct. You may have your opinion, I have my opinion, but that doesn't mean we cannot peacefully coexist. So in the APC, given the fact that we have people who maybe having different opinions, bringing them on board, but we've not seen ourselves macheting each other. We've not seen ourselves hitting each other. We've not seen ourselves throwing stones at each other, as it happens to our neighbors. Whilst at some point in time they have babu cane at their party office.
Which neighbors?
They are caning themselves. You understand? You see, they have urine. They will be pelting on parents. Some renowned people in this country, their parents were washed with urine when they came from Hajj and so forth and so on. That has not happened in the APC. So you can understand how the APC continues to enjoy this beauty and this sound camaraderie.
So Ekeke, as we close, what will be your message to party stalwarts, firstly, and then supporters of the APC in times like this? What should be the message?
Firstly, as you rightly said, Mr. Bakri, my message to the party stalwarts is to continue to maintain a level playing field for all, continue to nurse the confidence that is already on the ground, wherein everybody is feeling safe, feeling satisfied, and let they don't waver at all. Underline that word. That this party leadership must continue to provide in this same leadership that has given all flag bearers the confidence in the leadership. So they must not waver at all. That's my message to the party leadership. And to us, the general membership, let us continue to believe in the APC and in the leadership. That with this leadership, we are certain of State House. We are certain of transparent leadership. We are certain of credible leadership. And let the pulling down syndrome be stopped. Let the issue of throwing aspersions to one another be stopped, because it is disingenuous to the very core principles of the APC. Because if we don't believe in ourselves, if we don't continue to put our house in order, it is going to be catastrophic for us. And so to this end, I want to say, let us continue to believe our leaders. Let us see how best we continue to anchor faith and trust in the judiciary, as the matter is now before the courts. But whilst we wait for the courts to make its decisions as to what exactly a senior member of the party has taken for interpretation and for determination, the party still continues to have its leadership through Ambassador Usman Fode Yansane and all national officers. To this end, I say thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much. He's Abdul Karim Kamara Esquire, a barrister, a fine barrister, so to speak. And he's a member of the APC media team. He's been with us this morning. But let's take a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, the issues are many. We're going to our second segment of the show.
More and more people are using Wakeup SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Ah, Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, like Wakeup SIM Copper.
Ah.
Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Ah, excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs. The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Wakeup SIM Copper Plus now. You can download the Wakeup SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe and reliable.
Wetin you be dey fend don finally come. We don bring come we AfriCell loyalty program wey dey make you get loyalty points with every top up wey you do with AfriCell.
The more you top up, the more points you go get, where you can now exchange for minutes, data, phones, discount, and even cashback.
E no tap there o. You can also gain points with every transaction wey you dey do with AfriMoney. Any top up wey you do with AfriCell, dey count.
Dial *4232# for join the loyalty program for free and start for Get You Points now. The more you connect, the more you collect na the loyalty program from AfriCell.
AfriCell, now we network. Here's how to send money overseas using AfriMoney and BNB. Dial *161#. Select option 1. Go to option 6 for overseas money. Press 1 for BNB. You'll see the list of countries you can send to. Enter receiver's full name. Enter the receiver's phone number. Enter the amount you want to send. Enter your PIN to confirm. You will receive an SMS confirming your transaction. Terms and conditions applied.
Of course, the opposition is
You're still watching or listening to Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV television and radio. Don't forget to send in your comments and ask your questions to the AYV News Facebook page. Well, next to the Constitution. Parliament recent approval of the Constitution of Sierra Leone Amendment Bill 2025 on August 10, 2026 has sparked intense national debate over voting thresholds, proportional representation, adherence to Section 108's constitutional safeguards, and the preservation of post-election national cohesion.
Well, this morning, we continue with the conversation and the controversies surrounding the amendment bill, constitutional reform, electoral reform, and ways to preserve national unity. Joining us on the conversation this morning, we have Victor Idris Alansana, barrister and solicitor of the Superior Courts of Judicature, and he's also the Vice Chairman of the Human Rights Commission for Sierra Leone. We also have the Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Defenders Network Sierra Leone, Alphonsus B. Mbani. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the studio.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Alansana, let me start off with you. You know, Parliament has approved the amendment bill, of course. And there are a whole lot of arguments, you know, a whole lot of legal opinions with regards whether the processes leading to the bill being approved are right, or whether, you know, Parliament indeed complied with Section 108. In all of these, which would you say would be the strongest argument? Did Parliament get it right, or were there issues leading on to the approval of that bill?
Well, thank you very much. You know, before we go into the discussion proper, I would state that I am not giving, and I'm not attempting to interpret the Constitution, because there is only one body that is, responsible, or that is mandated to interpret the Constitution, which is the Supreme Court. Whatever I will be saying are mere opinions. Those opinions that I will express may be correct, may be wrong. Okay, it is left to the Supreme Court to actually determine, and then whatever the Supreme Court actually brings out will be a law, or will be a policy decision, okay, or statement. So back to your question, it's difficult for one to answer that question, you know, with just blanketly, okay? There are several opinions, like you have said, that have really come forward. You know, a lot of people have come forward to make a lot of opinions on whether Parliament did the wrong thing or Parliament was correct. But that in itself should tell you that the Constitution is problematic, or the drafting style or language of the Constitution is problematic. What we have before us is a situation where Parliament has the power in the first place to alter the Constitution. So Section 108, which is really where the discussion has been centered on, alongside Section 91 of the Constitution. That 108 gives Parliament the mandate or the responsibility or powers to amend, to alter the Constitution. But how do you alter the Constitution? The same Section 108 of the Constitution prescribes the ways in which you can alter the Constitution or you can amend the Constitution. So that Section 108 makes provision for two different types of amendment or alteration. The first bit of it, the first limb, talks about, I would style it as non-entrenched clauses. The second bit talks about entrenched clauses. So the non-entrenched clauses are provisions in the Constitution that can be amended, you know, by the normal cause of amendment in the Constitution, which therefore means that, for instance, you don't have to go to a referendum. You can amend it purely through Parliament or by Parliament. The entrenched clauses, these are very special provisions. They go far and beyond the normal format of amending the Constitution. Okay, that is what you find under subsection 3 of that 108. So now, what has been done is an amendment or an alteration of non-entrenched clauses. Initially, when the bill went to Parliament, I remember that there were some entrenched clauses, but then they had to remove them so that they were left with non-entrenched clauses, which clearly, by the Constitution, says for you to amend a non-entrenched clause, first, the bill has to be published, you know, on two publications on the Gazette, and then thereafter, you'll have to have, the bill will have to go through the other stages of amending the bill, and in this case particularly, it will have to go through the second and third readings. So the second reading and the third reading, according to the Constitution, is saying that there must be 2/3 of members of Parliament. So what we have is a situation where, during the second reading, we have seen, reports have been that during the second reading, 2/3 of members of Parliament, you know, voted for the bill to be amended. Because, like I've said already, it has to be both at the second reading and the third reading. So the second reading, they had the 2/3 of members of Parliament. The third reading, where they should have actually got the 2/3 of members of Parliament, and then the bill will now be passed to become law, that is where the problem lies. At that stage, where the bill should have been passed, the members of the opposition were no longer in Parliament. They had walked out. They had walked out at the stage when the bill was being discussed clause by clause, okay, provision by provision. Say, let's say, for instance, Section 23, Section 5, Section this, Section that. So they were taking the provisions sentence by sentence, clause by clause, provision by provision. So it was at that stage when the Speaker said whether they should vote for the Search and Nomination Committee in terms of when the President wants to appoint, or when there is vacancy in the appointment on the office of the Chief Electoral Commissioner or the chairperson of the ECSL. And I mean, there was the other aspect of it that what we have already in the Constitution, which the President would have to nominate, would have to appoint directly without having a Search and Nomination Committee. Others were arguing that it should remain, but all what they need to do is to define consultation. Because what we have in the extant law is that the President, in consultation with political parties, registered political parties, you know, should appoint somebody to be the chairperson of the ECSL and all members of ECSL, I mean other commissioners. So that was the debate. That was the vote being taken. At that stage, the APC had to walk out. The bill had not gone to the stage where it should be put on vote for it to become law. At that stage where the walkout took place, it was, like I said, I mean, the provisions were being discussed, were being put up for voting. And so we didn't have the opportunity to now really see what would have been the outcome if the bill, was put on voting. The bill as a document in its entirety and not provision by provision. Because what the section is actually providing for, or what Section 108 is saying, it says that for a bill to become a law, it must be voted by members of parliament. Mm-hmm. So it was not when the bill was put up for voting for it to become a law that we had the absence or the walkout of members of the APC caucus. So they had to walk out before even the bill was put out for it to be voted on. When they walked out, it was when they were taking the clauses one after the other. So again, I mean, further over and above that, the whole issue now has boiled down to whether, Parliament, when they used what the Speaker said, is this Section 91? That talks about simple majority versus two-thirds majority. So that is where you see that there is a clear gap, in the Constitution, what lawyers will call a lacuna. Because what it says is that members of Parliament, for that bill to become law, it must be supported by vote of two-thirds of members of Parliament. So then the whole issue now becomes whether two-thirds of members of Parliament also means all members of Parliament that we have voted to go, I mean, to take their seats, inclusive, of course, we know that members of Parliament include the paramount chiefs and then the political parties' representatives. Mm-hmm. So the question for the Supreme Court now is to interpret whether that provision or that sentence or that expression, two-thirds of members of Parliament, means two-thirds of all members of Parliament. Because, mark you, the same people who drafted the Constitution, the same people in 1991, they made use of all members of Parliament in other provisions, in other sections. So, for instance, in Section 51, Sub 1 and Sub 2, where it has to do with misconduct of the President, or where it has to do with the President violating the Constitution, and there's a need for the President to be set aside or to be ousted, or to be taken away from power, to be delivered, as the case may be. It says a motion that is coming before Parliament must be supported by two-thirds of all members of Parliament. That is what it says. Both Sub 1 and 2. It says all members of Parliament. These were the same drafters. I'm not talking about, subsequent Parliament. It was the same, people who drafted the 1991 Constitution that did the Section 108 provision, Sub 2, that talks about members of Parliament. The vote, for the bill to become law, it must be supported by a vote of two-thirds of members of Parliament. So one would think that if they had distinguished between all members of Parliament in Section 51 and even under Section 30, Sub 6, that talks about, emergency, state of emergency, when you want to declare state of emergency, you need two-thirds of all members of Parliament. The use of the word all is also repeated there. It's there, 36. The same as 51.1 and 51.2. Mm-hmm. The word all is there. So, but then 108.2 is bereft of, of all. So that opens, the whole debate. It therefore tells you that there is a lacuna. Because if the same drafters who had inserted the word all members of Parliament, two-thirds of all members of Parliament, failed to do so in 108, would we now impute the word all in 108.2? And what you see Parliament did when they were drafting their SOs, this same 108, it is there in their SO 44. SO 44, they now added the word all, that for a bill, for the ratification of the Constitution to become law, it must be supported by votes of all members of Parliament. That is what is there. But that is not, it's not in the Constitution. And we all know, of course, that the Constitution, in fact, also says any law that contravenes provision of the Constitution is null and void. So that provision in that SO is null and void because the word all is not in the Constitution, the substantive legislation. So this is really a matter for the Supreme Court to now interpret. That is why I have really been taking my time, to talk around this issue, that it is the Supreme Court that has the authority to give a proper interpretation. Whether, in the first place also, whether when you are taking a vote on provision by provision, not the bill as an entirety, as the document in its entirety, when you are taking a vote on section by section, it should be by 2/3 of the members of Parliament. And whether that also means that at the end of the day, if you cannot have the 2/3 of members of Parliament, assuming that, for instance, that there are members of Parliament who would refuse to actually participate in the exercise of voting. If they refuse, does that mean that the bill should fail? Does that mean that the process should be done over and again, and it will never come to an end?
And this is what I want to ask. Also, why Parliament say the bill is passed when members of the APC caucus disagree with certain clauses within the bill itself? And the Speaker has also said, we should have to refer to the Supreme Court to interpret 108. But why pass the bill now at this stage? Why not put everything on hold until the Supreme Court decides the interpretation of 108 before, say, the bill is passed? As it stands now, the bill has been passed. We're only awaiting constitutional interpretation from the Supreme Court. Why say the bill is passed if members of Parliament of the APC disagree with certain clauses or provisions within this amendment bill? Why say it is passed?
So two things. First of all, we are not waiting for the interpretation of the Supreme Court. We are waiting for the assent of the President, which is the crescendo of a bill becoming a law. Once the President signs and then it is again published, then it becomes law. I would have thought that the Speaker should have exercised patience to refer, for an interpretation to the Supreme Court before making a decision. But again, when you look at it from the flip side of the coin, I'm sure, I'm not in the Speaker's mind, he might be thinking, as at that material time, that would actually, is it erode or affect, or maybe, that is the word I would maybe undermine his powers that he has as the head of the legislature. Mark you, we have 3 arms of government. He heads the other arm of government. So, referring the matter to the Supreme Court and waiting for the Supreme Court to make a ruling, and then come later on and make his own ruling, it would appear as if the Supreme Court was dictating to him. But, I mean, I would have actually thought that in the interest of making sure that everybody is happy, when everybody wouldn't be happy at the same time. Because I remember even when the Supreme Court intervened in the sacking of the Vice President in 2015, a lot of people still said that interpretation was not correct. Up to date, people are still arguing that the Supreme Court did not do well in their interpretation of the Constitution. So even if the Supreme Court would have interpreted, and then the Speaker would have gone by the interpretation of the Supreme Court, there would have been people who would still challenge the opinion or the interpretation of the Supreme Court. But then I would say that I would have advised the Speaker to say, hold on, refer before you could, because this is really, really very contentious. Hold on, refer before you could do your ruling. But again, the opportunity is not lost, by the way. I told you we are waiting for assent, which is the signature of the President for the law for the bill to become law. The President under the Constitution, should be around section 122, sub 2, has normally, if the President is kind of confused or not certain about a certain constitutional provision or interpretation, as the case may be, the Constitution says the President can refer it to the Supreme Court, for the Supreme Court to give an advisory opinion to the President. So at this stage, the President can still do that. I know, of course, the Speaker said that he was going to refer the matter to the Supreme Court, but except by implication or by implied interpretation of the Constitution. I have not seen clearly in the Constitution where the Speaker should refer a matter to the Supreme Court. Although, like I said, by necessary implied terms, because the Supreme Court is like I said, the body responsible to interpret the Constitution. So the Speaker can come under that authority to say, because you are the body responsible to interpret the Constitution, please assist us to interpret going forward. But clearly, on the part of the President, there is a clear provision that says you can refer to the Supreme Court for an advisory opinion on constitutional matters. So we still have an opportunity. The President should now refer this matter, properly to the Supreme Court for an advisory opinion. Okay? I know, of course, also that by the Constitution, it is the Attorney General and Minister of Justice who is the principal legal advisor to the government, and that government is headed by the President. So he's the principal legal advisor to the President.
Right. So if the President consults with the Supreme Court and the Speaker has referred again to the Supreme Court for interpretation, if all this goes on as planned, does this lend credence to the legitimacy of this bill? I'm asking because questions are now looming, concerns are now looming with regards this particular section, which says that any suspension, alteration, or repeal of this Constitution other than on the authority of Parliament shall be deemed to be an act of treason. And people are saying if President Bio signs, it's an act of treason. The President has the right to consult the Supreme Court to give a legal opinion on whether he should sign this constitutional amendment bill. Parliament again has referred the matter to the Supreme Court to determine the interpretation of Section 108. If indeed the Supreme Court gives consultation to the President and again interprets, does this lend credence to the legitimacy of this bill in the eyes of members of Parliament of the APC?
You just made mention of if the President signs, it will amount, or it may amount to treason. I hear a lot of people talk about treason. How is it an act of treason if you perform your constitutional rule? The Constitution says for a bill to become law, the President must give his signature, must assent to it. If you perform that constitutional rule, how does it actually amount to treason?
But the same Constitution also says it has to go through the processes and procedures laid down in the Constitution. And members of Parliament of the APC are saying that this process leading to the bill now being approved is flawed.
No, so I'm just saying on the part of the President, I don't see any act of treason when you are performing your constitutional rule by signing the bill. But again, let's go back to what you've just read. When you say the authority of Parliament, what does that mean? By my own reading of the Constitution, the authority of Parliament could be found under Section 73(1), which establishes Parliament and says the composition of Parliament includes the President, the Speaker, and members of Parliament. Okay, that is the composition of Parliament. And that is the authority of Parliament. And then if you look at Section 106, Section 106 is very clear, sub 6, it gives you what we call the enacting formula. The enacting formula is a situation where every bill, when you pass into law, is styled as being passed in by this Parliament assembled by the President and members of Parliament. Any bill or any law does not have that enacting formula is void. It's not a law. Okay, the bill will have failed. So the authority of Parliament, I see it as established under that section I've just quoted, which tells you that the composition of Parliament includes the President, the Speaker, and the members of Parliament. And members of Parliament are the honorable Parliament chiefs, and then the politicians, the political party representatives. So to me, if these people go through the procedure, and then the bill becomes law, it's signed. I'm not sure there's anything about treason. But again, on the issue of the tutors, or you said the APC is, of course, I mean, we have always had this issue about interpreting the Constitution, okay? So APC has a very legitimate concern to say the procedures may have been flawed. But that is why there is a body that is really responsible to actually address this issue, and that is the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court should now come in and look at, I mean, very quickly, and look at the situation, and then make an analysis, and then give an interpretation. And that is what all of us go by, no matter how we look at it. In 2015, we said the Supreme Court interpretation of the sacking of Samsumana was wrong, but that still remains the law until it is set aside. So I believe that what we have been robbed of is the fact that, you know, I would have loved, by the way, I would have loved the members of the APC caucus to wait until that moment, that material time, you know, when that bill will be put up for vote, so that the bill will fail. The bill will fail if there is no two-thirds majority. Because now I've been hearing also discussions from the SLPP angle to say the Speaker has the powers to do a deduction of members of Parliament who may have taken leave of the Speaker officially.
Yeah, the three who took sick
exactly.
leave.
So for the purpose of computing the two-thirds majority, they are saying their SO 44 says the Speaker has the powers to deduct those three members who may have taken leave of the Speaker on an official assignment. So that when you are now looking at or computing the two-thirds majority, then it is about those who are there, apart from those three who actually took, official leave of the Speaker. So that is why I said, all of these were just, trying to educate the public, but it is really for the business of the Supreme Court to come in very quickly and make an interpretation to this.
Let me bring you in, Alfonso. So let's talk about the people. Because at the end of the day, all of these laws are eventually going to affect the general populace, the ordinary Sierra Leonean, best put. Do you believe the ordinary Sierra Leoneans have been given sufficient opportunity to actually appreciate, or should I say understand or participate in this reform process?
It will be yes and no. And the yes part, I would say that was way back in 2013. That was the time when the former president, Dr. Ernest Bayakoma, constituted the Constitutional Committee, Constitutional Review Committee, headed by late Justice Kawan, may his soul rest in peace. And at that time, you have all different sectors of society forms part of that committee. And they went the length and breadth of this country to gather people's opinion, people's views about how we want to see a new constitution of Sierra Leone. And that opinion, all those opinions collected by the committee were translated into a single document that was presented in 2013 to the former president, Dr. Ernest Bayakoma. All what we are discussing here, this PR system, this 50% plus one, you go back to that document, everything is embedded in that document. Their recommendations. The unfortunate side of it is that these two political parties, SLPP and APC, were just cherry-picking what is of interest to them in that sacred document, and they move forward with it. So the yes part was that we were given the opportunity at the time when they established the committee. The no part is that none of them, both APC and SLPP, have given respect to the opinion of the people that have been translated in that document. Because if they give respect and they respect the opinion of Sierra Leonean, they should have just translated those recommendations into a workable constitution for this country. Other than that, nothing has been done. They did not give respect to the people of this country.
So you're saying, yes, consultations were done in 2013.
Of course.
But now that we're actually talking about the bill, everybody's talking about it, do you think this government handled the consultation aspect well?
Well, they did not handle it well, I will say, because to me, really, I don't see much of consultation, because the consultation already have been done. If they did this thing genuinely, when President Bio came into office, I think it was few years later, and he came out with a white paper on the Constitution. They just identified few areas. That was the time, the opportunity that they had to say, under the APC-led government that constituted this committee, these recommendations we are giving. Now for us, the SLPP, we are now taking this recommendation, putting them into a white paper that will move forward. But what they did was to just identify just few areas that are of interest to them, and they move with the white paper. Now, why we are moving forward on the issue of this election was because we have now surrendered this country to SLPP and APC. Because after the 2023 election came the so-called tripartite. That is APC, SLPP, government, and the international community, the three of them. And when you are talking about the electoral systems and processes reforms, it is not between APC and SLPP. It is among all registered political parties in this country, including all of us that are going to participate in the elections. But nobody was a part of that discussion, and that was what I also make very clear to the moral guarantors when they were here. They called us civil society. We are not on the table at the time when we were discussing. We are not at the table discussing this issue. Now you are asking for our own opinion when things have gone wrong. Because it was SLPP and APC, so they were now taking the tripartite committee recommendation to take precedence over the constitutional committee's recommendation that carries the voice of the people other than just political parties. The Kawan. That's what I'm referring to. So if you look at what carries weight, it's what we have in the late Justice Kawan's report. This tripartite committee does not carry the voice of the entire people of this country. It was just political parties, APC and SLPP. And so it does not carry weight. But because they wanted to show that these two parties control the country, now what the SLPP did, in the recommendation, the issue of elections was also raised in terms of creating, how do you call it, a committee, a vetting committee or whatsoever. So they decided to fish out the issue of this election so that because the African Charter on democracy, on governance and democracy, has limitation as to a country to do electoral reforms very close to electoral period. So they hastily say, let's move with this so that let's just take what is on election-related matter, let's trash it before the 2028 election. The rest we can deal with it later. So that is what they have done. So they are doing something of their own interest. But mind you, since 2013, this document has been presented to the former president. This current government came back, they met this document. They just identified few areas. So they are not sincere to the people of this country. They are not really sincere.
Okay,
if they are sincere, they could have just taken what was in that document, translate it into a workable, meaningful constitution for the people of this country. But they did it.
Okay, so there are aspects of this amendment bill that many people are concerned about. For instance, the electoral system that is to be used in 2028, in the 2028 elections, and of course the threshold for a candidate to be declared president after an elections. So prior to the amendment being taken to Parliament, we saw that there was a consultative meetings regarding what electoral system is to be used in 2028 in particular. And civil society organizations were in, I assume you were there, were you there? In that consultative meeting wherein civil society organizations and other groups were asked to vote, whether in favor of the pair or in favor of the first past the post. Were you among those civil society
I was not there, but that was also a miscalculated step.
Okay.
Now, what is referenced in the CRC report, which is on page 260 and 261, the introduction of the proportional representation system of elections, that is there. What if they had wanted to do consultation? The consultation is not longer on proportional representation. The consultation should have been, which type of proportional representation do we need as a nation?
Okay, because that has been decided on.
Yes, that should be the consultation. Because what is in the committee's report is that the best electoral system in this country is proportional representation. That should be in the constitution. Now, the question now is because there are different types of proportional representation system. So what should have been the discussion, consultation in this country now? What type of proportional representation do we need as a nation? That is where you now talk about consultation. But the consultation itself on the constitution about election have been done years back, and the report is there. All what I'm saying, let us go by the Justice Kawan report. And while they are cherry picking, Justice Kawan in that same report, they make sure that even chapter 2 of the constitution that people are saying it is not justiciable. The Justice Kawan report recommendation suggested that economic, social, and cultural rights should be justiciable, that we should hold the government accountable wherein they fail to provide food, shelter, accommodation. These two political parties, in fact, they are not even discussing that. What they are discussing, how they should get power. That is their own interest. So they are not discussing the issue of the constitution in the interest of the country. They are discussing the interest of the constitution, the issue of the constitution based on their own political interests. So that is why I said, for us the people, if these two parties, SLPP and APC, that have held this country to ransom, are sincere enough, let them bring the Justice Kawan reports, discuss it in Parliament, adopt it, and it form the basis of our own constitution, the next constitution of this country.
Okay, Alphonsus and Victor, we'll be back with you, but for now, let's join Esther Marie Samoa, our sports reporter, for some sports update.
Good morning, Alima, and our viewers around the world. For our sports updates this morning, Leone Stars head coach Didier Gomez da Rosa has commenced training with selected home-based players at the SLFA Technical Center, launching preparations for the 2027 AFCON qualifiers. While the training is designed to assess technical choosing local players ahead of September's opening fixtures against Zimbabwe and Equatorial Guinea. Well, he stated that the training camp is timely, noting that selection will be based strictly on competence and performance as preparations continue. He also gave an update on progress made during their recent UK tour for player scouting for Leone Stars. Here is an excerpt.
It is very important to organize a camp with the home basis player, because firstly I want to give a chance to everybody. You play in the country, you play outside the country, you have to get a chance to play for the Leone Stars. I trust on our team, really, I trust on Leone Stars. We have quality players, we have big potential. The most important now is to create a big unity, very, very important. So the main target is to start this qualifying campaign with success. Here we play in United Kingdom, very important. The trip, the stay was very positive, and because with the technical director John, we got a lot of positive feedback. I'm very happy. I cannot talk too much now, but we have 7-8 players who decide to play for Leone Stars. But you know, I needed to feel the commitment of the player, his will to play for the nation, for the flag, and I was very happy, especially for some players. They really want to join Sierra Leone. So very important. It means that our player panel now is very large, and it will be for me difficult to decide, but it's also good for a coach.
Head coach of Leone Stars, Didier Gomez da Rosa, speaking on his home-based selections and as well as their recent UK tour. But that's all for sports updates this morning. I am Maria Samora. Over to you, Matia and Alima.
Right, thank you very much, Maria Samora, for joining us this morning. I'm afraid we do not have enough time. We barely have 3 minutes to go. But over to you, Mr. Lansana, in just 1 minute. We know that whenever we have elections, the country is politically charged with this current constitutional amendment issues we're having. And, you know, we've spoken about this for a very long time, whether if these trends continue, whether we will have a peaceful election. Where we are now and where you are seated, what will be your message to Parliament, you know, to the President, to the Supreme Court, you know, with all of what is happening, the prospect of the 2028 elections?
Well, it's very simple. Let the Supreme Court intervene very quickly, you know, to be able to lay the fears of everybody, you know, to rest, so that at the end of the day, we know that the highest court has given an interpretation. But, Mr. Mateo, over and above all of this, my disappointment is that the government missed out on an opportunity. The moment we said, when after 2023 elections, APC decided not to go to court, when they had very legitimate concerns, they boycotted the court. They did not go to court. They said, okay, let us go into a room and then have a unity agreements. Thereafter, there was tripartite recommendations that came out. That was the biggest loss for the people of this country. Like Mr. Bani said, we have an opportunity, you know, in our country where the late Justice Kawan, with an 82-man-led team, went across this country, did consultations, and then produced a report. I would have thought that when this president came, when the government came, they should have taken that process to completion, to the finish line. But unfortunately, as I see it now, it is not possible, highly unlikely, I would say, it is highly unlikely that this president, that this government, you know, this current dispensation, would be able to complete that constitutional process. Because after this, there will be, I mean, the elections, normally, you know, the preparation, the cycle is long, several preparations. I'm not sure they'll be able to complete the constitutional review process. But that should have been one of the primary visions, you know, to make sure that they complete that process. Because the Constitution, those amendments or recommendations from Justice Kawan and his committee, they are very, very, very good. And now we have missed on the opportunity to actually go back and review that section 14 of the Constitution, of the extant law. It says that if government is unable to provide the socio-economic rights, you cannot take government to court for that. And, you know, if you are amending Constitution, so what I see, all of these amendments, that is, I mean, these piecemeal amendments, it's really, you know, for the gains of the politicians.
How involved
they have not considered the Sierra Leoneans whose business is really hand to mouth.
How involved was your commission during this whole process?
We have, well, on the Kawan, because we have a position paper.
Not just the Kawan, this particular one now that the SLPP and the APC decided to come together and...
Yes, we were consulted at some point. I think I was in Waterloo at some point, and another place where they invited the commission, and I had said clearly that we needed to go back to that Justice Kawan report and complete the process. I had said that I'd actually, you know, I mean, sounded the bell that if we go ahead to do piecemeal amendments, we may miss out on the opportunity to have a brand new constitution that will actually cater for the many emerging issues, you know, whether it's citizenship rights, women's rights, youth, you know, all of these things. But now we have missed out.
Alfonso, as we close, now, as Mr. Lansana said, it seems as if all these changes we are seeing, it's only politically motivated. You know, when the issue of an independent candidate arrived in the Constitution, both parties agreed to take it out.
Because
they knew that that would be a third force, you know, putting them out of power. Both agreed. But now when it comes to something benefiting the nation, it's being politicized. As we close, again, Alima to ask, and I want to repeat again, this current constitutional amendment we're seeing, or that is now done, awaiting presidential assent, is it done in the interest of the people or in the interest of these two political parties?
It's in the interest of the two political parties, and I will make a special plea to the president that at least, with all due respect to him, he has done good things, passing a number of progressive laws, for women, a number of things on land issues. So these are progressive laws, even strengthening this aspect of the rape or sexual penetration against children. These are progressive laws. For him to have left a legacy for this country is to have just taken the Justice Cowan report, move with it, and finish it. But as it is now, my appeal to him to finish his legacy properly, let him don't sign that particular bill until we have a decision from the Supreme Court. Right. It will be a legacy for him in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agbani. I'm afraid this is all we have time for, and this is where we have to end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. We say many thanks to our sponsor, Wakeup Commercial Bank, and our other advertisers, and to our audience. We appreciate your time, and apologies we couldn't go through with all the messages. Until we meet again, I am Bokari Matia. And I am Elimati Judge. Please stay tuned to AYV throughout today as we have other exciting programs coming up. Till we meet again tomorrow, take care of yourself. Remember to show kindness always, and do have a pleasant day.